everybody. Welcome to the countdown to the Realms of Pugmire Kickstarter. I
Woo!
am Doggo Cochran.
Nice.
I don't know what else to call me. What kind of dog even is this? I have no idea.
I think we're officially in mutt territory at this point.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a spaniel, maybe I see a bit of spaniel there.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. I can be Doggo Spaniel. I'm down.
Doggo spaniel.
And of course, I'm here with Pugmire creator Eddy Webb, who has a dog with him, I do believe.
Yes, there's Darby.
Yeah, you can kind of see part of her face.
Kind of part of her face, yes. But yes, Darby is sitting here hanging out with me. We're gonna get excited about the upcoming Pugmire Kickstarter.
You're not already excited?
Well, I'm even more excited and terrified because you always get nervous to start these things of like it never happens, but you have that moment of like where the Kickstarter goes live and then like it rolls over to like $5
Yeah.
and it just stays there for like an hour and it's just like, oh, that's not good.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
No,
People love
but
Pugmire. I love Pugmire.
Darby certainly loves Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's in the book. She made me put her in the book.
I mean, if you didn't put her in the book, that would be weird.
Right.
When I started editing 2E, the first thing that I did was I went into the special thanks and added all my cats. So because we all had everyone who works on the book gets to add their pets.
Yep, absolutely. And each book that special thanks section gets bigger and bigger and bigger, which is great. I love it.
Yeah, it really depends on who's on the book, but yeah, because it's like if you get me, it adds 3 names. If you get somebody else, it might only add 1. And if you get Laura
Right.
and Roy, you've got too many cats.
And it's really funny. Like I don't know how many relatively prominent people in the industry have been like, I would work on Pugmire just because I want to get my pet's name in the book somewhere.
That's
I mean,
funny.
that's how we had like Dennis Detwiller write a Monica's Mouth thing. He was like, can I just put my character and write my pet in the book? I'm like, yeah, Dennis, sure.
Is that really what happened? I didn't know that.
I mean, we also paid him his rate, but I mean,
Well,
that was what
yeah.
started it. That was what started it. It's like, I'd really love to just have my pet in the book. And it's just like, sure, yeah, we can make that happen.
Why not? Let's put
Um,
a
I,
pet in a book.
I actually asked Rose to do some last minute kind of development work on the core rule book, and that was that was part of her price was like going. I want to have my cat's name in the book somewhere. It's like okay,
Well, of
we can do that.
course we're gonna put her cat's name in the book somewhere. Why wouldn't we?
Exactly.
So we got a few folks in here now. I didn't know if we wanted to start playing a couple games. We don't have Pugmire specific Jackbox games. We do have Jackbox games, and knowing me and Eddie, we can make it about dog puns.
Oh yeah, we can make. I can make anything with dog fun.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of your thing.
I've spent almost a decade making a game based on just that.
It really has been that long, which is so all over the place. Like I know we talked about that in our Q&A last week, but like it's so weird to me to think that it's been that long, you know?
Yeah, when people are like, we do 10th anniversary, and it's like, well, actually, by the time this book comes out, it'll have been about 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, at least since the manuscript was first finished, or
Right.
close to when it first kickstarted.
Yeah. Although I will admit that this is the second core rulebook Kickstarter for Pugmire, and the second time I've had to do some heavy rewrites right to the wire
Right.
because of something was the coast did.
I mean, okay, so Auto Defenestrate in the chat, so they would expect Dixie to have darker fur or maybe green. And if I could customize my own dog in Zoom, I would. But the only customizable things in Zoom are humans, and they're terrifying looking. Like I made me, quote unquote, and I look horrifying. Like it's very scary. I don't like it at all. So this is the Zoom dog that I am being today.
Generic Zoom dog.
I do hope that they eventually add some more, doggo options, but this is the only one I have, so can't even change the shirt color. But that's okay, because I like
Really?
teal. Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know. They're not customizable for the animals yet. It's a beta thing on Zoom. I have no idea.
Ah, okay.
No, we were learning about Zoom beta features on this Pugmire stream. That makes sense.
What? We got we went digression in one of our things. That's just shocking.
I am Doggo Cochran, the Nether lad. That's how I introduced myself earlier. And then we decided I was a spaniel, so I am Doggo Spaniel. That's my Pugmire name today.
That was Spaniel Cochran III.
Doggo Spaniel Cochran the third. Okay, so let's look at a game. Eddie, what do you want to play? Is it board games, like trivia games? What you into?
Let's try a trivia game first. Kind of ease our way into things.
A trivia game.
Particularly if there's something that people in chat can play.
Well, when it goes live on here, people on chat can play the first few people who put in the code will be able to get in. I will give you the code separately in our chat. We're gonna play one of my favorites because it's got very silly random trivia, and also because once it asked me to pick out which things were dog breeds.
Ooh, nice.
And once we start the game, we will be off screen for the time being. I did put on extended timers so that everybody in the chat will have a chance to answer. If you want to play along, go to jackbox.tv in either your browser or on your phone or tablet.
And of course, Dixie and I will be chatting and probably talking about Pugmire stuff as we're in the middle of doing game things. Yeah. So if you have questions or just want to comments in the chat, we'll do that as well. We could do two things at once. Oh, Darby's leaving. Hold on. Important update. Darby. What are we doing, Darby? We're sitting. Okay, we're staring now at the wall. So important dog update.
Important dog update. I love it. All right.
And actually, she's perfectly balanced. So you can see it right next to the side of my head. There's like a Darby head growing out of my neck.
That's a little creepy, but okay.
Oh, there it goes. Okay.
All right. I'm giving Eddie the code, and then I will go live on here.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I actually typed that wrong because I'm stupid.
Okay, it's backwards. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I was slightly backwards there. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
All right.
I should go to somebody else's game.
That would be really funny, actually. So let's see if this still works properly, because I have not done Jackbox on here in a hot minute.
Muppet Newsflash energy. Yes. The important dog update definitely is in the same vein.
Yeah, it definitely is. So,
we have spinning and laying up.
I don't know why it looks weird, but I can fix that. I gotta fix something real quick on my screen. Or not, because it won't let me. Okay, it's just gonna be in a weird black box for some reason. I don't know why. I'll make it bigger. I need to make it smaller. Aha! Fixing things in real time is fun when you're live on Twitch.
I just realized I have to actually watch it on Twitch myself, so...
Yeah, you do. Which means I am going to be slightly ahead of people. We still got room for some folks. I'm going to give it a few minutes to see if anybody else wants to join.
So this is the wheels of enormous proportions. Oh, actually, I don't know if I'll be able to hear the audio.
That's actually what I'm worried about. I'm worried that the audio isn't coming through, so I'm trying to figure that out right now. Live, again.
Yeah, so I can hear the audio, but also hear me talking in a delay, so that's...
Oh, well, I put subtitles on.
Okay, good. Yeah, audio is coming through, so we can hear y'all. Yeah.
Oh, I meant the game audio.
Yeah, game audio is also coming through.
Oh, okay, good job.
It is more. If I listen to game audio, I'm also hearing us talking in a delay.
Would you like me to broadcast it through Discord just to you?
No, that's fine. We'll make this work.
Okay, because
I am used to not listening to games, so.
Like I said, it has subtitles, and most of the questions are just going to be on your phone or your browser or whatever.
Good.
All right. Oh, hey, Carol. Does anybody else want to join? I'm going to hit start in a second, and if anybody else wants to join, they can be, what's it called? Audience members, because audience members can do stuff too.
Right.
So, I'm going to hit the button. We're gonna answer. These are random ass trivia questions. It'll be really fun.
You have traveled to this sacred mountaintop, seeking answers from the all-knowing wheel.
Random ass trivia questions.
We now ask the wheel any one question.
This is just a silly thing, so pick any question that you want.
Should you be chosen, your longing for truth will be satisfied, and your life forever changed.
Torments your very soul.
Music is very like ethereal.
Nice. Oh, we actually have 2 people in audience. Yay.
One
Yeah,
of them is
Ian
Ian.
needs- Right, because Ian's got to, you know, actually do social media work.
If you can't come up with a
Get
good
6.
question, we'll get you something random. Better than nothing, right?
2, 1. That's okay.
And with that, the wheel of enormous proportions awaits.
It really is large. It's a large wheel.
You're on a journey to find enlightenment, but you're confronted with a kooky.
It looks like the Onyx Path logo.
Instead,
Oh yeah, the Happy Onyx Path logo? Kinda.
Yeah.
you're gonna take turns spinning me, and you get points if I land on your slice. Earn 20,000 points, and you'll be able to spin the winner wheel.
20,000 is a lot easier than it sounds.
But not just anyone can spin me. You have to prove
Okay.
yourself first. You have the chance to win points thanks to these 2 slices.
Prove yourself
Odds are
first.
better when you have more. So let's earn some by doing a little trivia, starting right now. To start things off, which of these are real WWE wrestlers? Just tap on the ones that fit the prompt.
Oh, yeah. I may know this one.
Now you know why I was laughing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although some of these are actually pretty funny.
If the majority of you pick the best player, you'll earn a special slice of your own.
Related, I was watching my Space Ghost Coast to Coast DVDs because I found a whole bunch of them really cheap, and I had never watched past like the first year of them, and I really loved it. And it turns out Randy Savage actually voiced Space Ghost's grandpa in one episode.
Oh, nice.
So I'm like, is that Randy Savage? And then at one point the character's going, you sound like Randy Savage. And I checked the credits, and it was Randy Savage. I'm like, that's actually pretty funny.
Nice.
Provided you answered like this.
I actually knew a lot of these. I'm pretty proud of myself. I think I might have gotten them all right. Hell yeah! Look at me knowing as many as Eddie. I mean, I think that's a big deal.
That is impressive, yeah.
What am I looking at? It's the gruesome twosome. Your scores are nasty.
See, you're just almost on your way to be a wrestling fan.
I mean, a lot of these are from the era when I was living with somebody who was watching it a lot, and the other ones are just super famous.
Question 2.
Right.
Which of these
Yeah, again, like Randy Savage.
birds of prey
Or, this is an or question.
prey? I'm looking for both. Sometimes you just want it all. Start tapping like a group of
Okay.
different woodpeckers.
I don't, was Hawkeye in Birds of Prey?
Reminds me how much I love to tap dance.
No.
But if it's
think he
too bad,
was.
'cause I'll never do it myself. Don't think about that. Just keep
Hawkeye's completed for comic company.
Yeah, so I was confused.
And it was just, oh, here's a bird thing. They're like, I don't think Mockingjay's a real bird.
Okay, now here's what we're
No.
looking for.
It's a Hunger Games bird. Eddie, they're gonna think we rigged it.
Oh! Real right now? Have a slice. Bing.
I like that Tucker Wolf was like, I knew most of the Russian pop culture osmosis, so I think was your explanation.
I mean, yeah, like, I think most people know who, like, Ric Flair is on some level.
Right.
In 2020, which site
Stone
on
Cold
the
Steve Austin.
interweb was visited more
Right.
often?
On the interweb.
To be fair, a lot of those were like,
As many correct answers as you can before time
which
runs
site
out.
was visited more often?
Mm.
These are tough.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple wrong, definitely.
It's the home stretch now. Keep tapping.
I say shrink as many as possible.
Yeah, and you get a little time penalty if you mess one up. I'm super surprised that, Yahoo was higher than Amazon.
You're gonna be so thrilled.
Yeah, yeah.
Power slice. It's known as the power slice.
Power slice.
You can stick it on my head and spin me.
All my cats are in the room with me looking at me accusatorily, and I think that they realize that I'm a dog right now.
They somehow just know.
Yeah, they just know.
So glad you joined me up here with all those slices that can be spun and turned
So
into
you get the power slice?
Choose the slots on my face to
Yes.
stock at your slices.
But now I get to put my
Just be
slices
careful.
places.
You split the points with everyone who shares a slot with you. Oh, and watch out for the audience. They have
Oh, I see, okay.
slices this round to stir up trouble.
Oh, I forgot the audience could fuck with us.
What?
Also, apologies for language. I'm trying not to curse as much on the stream because it's Pugmire.
Get those
Ah,
slices
fuck it.
down.
Okay.
You're gonna take
I mean, the actual Pugmire books we don't swear, but
Man, damn it.
you spin first.
exactly. See, damn it is in Pugmire.
Swipe the wheel on your device.
Okay, so what is the
You can also tap real
point of
fast
this?
with that.
So someone's gonna spin the wheel, the person who's up on the little platform there,
Uh-huh.
and then whatever it lands on, those people get points.
Okay.
And if you share it with other people, you split the points, however many ways you are sharing it.
Slices reproduce until you land on one.
Ah, I see, okay.
How about that?
Woo!
It's your time
Good job,
to
Deckerwolf.
shine.
Yeah, I actually love it. I think it's really funny when somebody else spins and gives somebody else like 5,000 points,
Could be.
like that.
You get to split the pot.
I gave all three of you some points.
Yay, points.
You ready, new spinner?
Damn.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, I think next time probably better is if you could stream this to me on Discord too.
The pot,
Okay.
but it's also
Because you keep laughing at things like, what's funny? I don't understand.
Do you want me to give points to the player with the most slices or the fewest slices? Everyone gets
Uh-oh.
to vote now. Oh, everyone means players can vote too.
Now the audience gets to vote on things now.
Yeah,
Campaign out loud. Convince people to vote in your best interest.
but so do you.
Oh, okay.
Most.
And what did you
Dixie wants more
decide?
points.
Because that's what Dixie needs is more points.
I think I was the only one who voted for most.
That spin
Yeah.
wheel above me is filled
That-
with
that-
points,
I'm alright.
So we've come to this one last
Last spin of the round.
Spin like it's your last spin of the round.
If it's hard to spin, just like tap it a couple times. Sometimes it doesn't register well on my phone.
Hurry up! I don't want to spin without you. I'm
Sit tight, little meeple. I
Damn
guess we're
it.
meeples, aren't we?
Yeah, we are meeples. I will have y'all know that I gained no points that round, despite having
Let me spin on
all of the
different
points in the last few.
Yeah, Tycho Wolf moved ahead just through
Yeah.
spinning and audience manipulation.
1,000 points.
That's why this game is both about trivia and about randomness.
That's appropriate. That's like most tabletop role-playing games.
You two
Mhm.
new slices.
It is very
Very-
Mario Party in that way. You're absolutely correct.
You.
You know what? I've actually never played Mario Party.
Oh, I play it on the regular. It's like one of those things that if my boyfriend and I are just kind of like bored at night,
Before we move on,
I'm like,
Mhm.
no. Are you
you have
ready
an hour
for
to
this
kill.
jelly?
Mario Party?
Ready for this jelly? Yeah, but I could
Oh, it makes sense. I mean, because that's supposed to be that kind of pick up and play.
Actual
Mhm.
types of jellyfish.
Yes, the fewest points to the bet. That's correct. That's absolutely not at all true.
Tap the ones that
Actual types of jellyfish. Holy crap! I have no idea.
Okay, all these names are amazing though. BLT on rye jellyfish, pink meanie. I have no freaking idea about any of these. I'm just gonna pick a few.
So, in what is the most me answer, I know one of these purely because it's in a Sherlock Holmes story.
I don't think I know any of these, so I just picked some that were fun.
That's it. And the answers were
Also, speaking of peak us, Ian identifying the vampire fonts
Nice.
in this game.
That's pretty great, actually.
That is a very Ian statement.
like that. That's
I got 6. Wow, good job, Nethala.
And what about
I'm surprised
What?
I got 9
kills
or whatever I got.
two slices is better
I
than one.
got 6. Oh, poison are interested in jellyfishes. Ah, interesting.
Oh, nice.
You're gonna pair things off based on this
I
prompt.
love jellyfish. They're very cute.
Match the word to its antonym.
Grammar.
Oh no.
See two columns that you can slide up and down.
Okay, so
Tap
antonyms.
right in column A, then tap its match in column B. Time for just a few more matches.
I apologize to the non-English as a first language people in there.
Let's see what
Yeah. Jellyfish from Pugmire World are decided to be like very
Oh.
moist.
Very acidic.
Yes.
you're the good ones, because your score is so
Well, now I'm gonna rate acid jellyfish for Pugmire because I have to.
Oh, look, Dixie's 100% correct. What are the odds?
last ones for a pop.
So are you.
I know, but
You need to answer this question with a
God, that way I just cranked up the slices though. Good
percentage
job.
of Pringles is actually potato.
Please enumerate.
Answer with the keypad
Oh my
twice
God.
and
I
then
have.
tap
Oh
right.
Jesus.
Close to the answer if you want to win.
I don't know.
I have picked a number.
What percentage of Pugmire is actually pugs?
What did you decide?
12.3%.
Should have given is
You said 0?
I said 0.
Holy shit.
a lot of you are about half potato in content as well. Just saying.
Is it actually 0?
No, it was 42.
Oh.
I was the closest answer.
The winner is you. Could it be
It just seemed like a gotcha question, you know?
Well, I know there's some potato in it because I read a whole thing about how they can't be called potato chips because they're not slices of potato. They're like
Right.
mashed and reconstituted, like pressed potato. So that's why
Oh.
that's why they're called crisps instead of chips here in the
now
U.S.
that you're here, please gently
Even though crisps is pretty common everywhere else anyway.
Yeah.
Place your
with
slices.
the X, that one's worth double. Unless everyone shares it, then it won't end up worth so much, am I right?
See if we land on any of mine this time. With my
You don't need
useless power
points.
slice. I like that you're a little clown there, Eddie.
Yes. I don't think I have a choice. I think you just kind of gave it to me.
Yeah, no, it picks it out for this one. Oh, Eddie spin.
how I've dreamed that
Oh,
you'd
hey.
be our first spinner.
Swipe or tap. Just him.
Like I said, it's a little weird and touchy sometimes. I don't know why.
There we go.
Power
Thanks.
slice. It is the
You're
power
welcome.
slice.
I've been power sliced.
Get over here, slice owner. You won the pot, but now you get to do something.
So what does the power slice do?
I get to win it again unless you all agree to give it to somebody else.
Give it to someone else.
Yeah.
Now's your chance to vote. If you all pick the same player,
But you all have to pick the same
So
player.
good same player?
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually pretty interesting. Also, one thing, Jackbox games, they usually have really solid game design.
Mm-hmm.
the others couldn't coalesce.
Thanks,
That
guys.
means you
Give it Tycho.
I'm on the threshold to spin the enormous wheel now.
With those coins, you get to spin the winner wheel.
This doesn't mean I'm going to win.
If you
It just means that you
land on
could
one of
win.
your
Yes.
slices, then you win. But land on one of the skulls, and we still have a game to play. This could be the winning spin.
So you have to not get a skull.
Yeah, I have to land on my name. And the game goes on.
Winners yet.
No winners yet.
It's skull
Just like
over
life.
here. Now's your chance to steal the win. Spin a
Wow, this turned into a pretty bleak excitement for Kickstarter.
Wow, yeah. Jeez.
So now that slice of yours is a skull permanently, or?
Well, yeah, the power slice is just out of play now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hey, how about a spin from a new spin?
More points for Tycho Wolves.
Right? Making me spin again, alright. I don't know how it determines who spins.
All right, some points to line your pockets with.
It does seem random. 'Cause I thought it was just kind of, kind of a list, but it seems like you.
Yeah, it's not in order. I don't know how they.
Oh, you know what? Actually, bet it. I bet you. I think you make it a spin for each like number of slices you have.
Oh, maybe. I win. Dixie won.
Hooray!
That means I get my question answered.
What was your question?
It's gonna tell you.
But that requires waiting. Got an achievement.
I did. I saw that. Spin wheel. There we go. Yay! How exciting!
Yes, but what a weird question. Well, I mean, what?
I'm gonna go back to us for a minute. Although the song is pretty great. Oh no, we shall get your questions. Who's the best dog in Pugmire?
But it's not 42. Oh, that was a weirdly cognate question.
Yeah, I always just say it's because it's my birthday. The sound design for Jackbox games is too good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sampled all of them, but what I have sampled has been really good.
Yeah. All right, we're back to being our heads.
Hello, heads.
Hello. Is Darby around?
Quick dog update. Darby's not sleeping.
Dog update. Well, she's got to conserve her energy for the Kickstarter, which has exactly half an hour till it starts.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It's so good.
It's almost here. Actually, I should probably check to see if there's anything interesting happening on social media. There's not, but that's fine. That's fine. Everyone's waiting.
What would be
patiently.
happening on social media?
I don't know. People are tweeting or excited about it or giving me money. I don't know.
Just randomly, just giving you money.
Here's $20. Thanks.
That would be hilarious. I love it. I love it. Just like, I was going to back a Kickstarter, but I decided just to give the money directly to Eddy instead. Why not? It'll be fun.
I mean, ultimately, all the money is really just designed to give Darby food, so.
That's fine. I mean, that's what Darby wants, right?
Yep.
Food and naps and belly rubs.
So, part of the trip, the move to the UK, she has to go through a couple of different vet trips. So basically, it's she goes through a specific checklist for the United Kingdom, and goes through certain tests, and if she gets all that and it's signed off by someone at the USDA, then she can fly over. It's basically getting a passport. But with that, we got her medical records, including her weight from when we got her to now.
Oh, I bet she's put on a lot.
She started at 62, which is actually really underweight for a boxer.
Yeah, she was skinny. She's
now like 84.
Nice.
Which is over. She should be the 70 to 75.
Oh, okay. You went too far in the feeding her direction.
Right. Michelle has joked that she's basically an Italian grandmother to dogs. So.
Oh, okay. Just whenever a dog shows up, Michelle's like, "Here's food."
Right. Yes.
Do you want food? Yeah.
Luckily, you're right, Take a Wolf. She's making up for lost time. That's absolutely true.
Luckily, all of my cats are good at regulating their intake, so none of them are super chunky. Wednesday's a little chunky, but we let her stay that way because she has FIV, and so if she gets sick, we don't want her to be really skinny immediately.
Oh, okay.
So we let her be like a pound overweight, essentially.
Count emergency fat reserves?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Just because, if she gets sick, she just melts. I mean, when we first got her, we didn't know she was sick at the time. We knew she had FIV, but we didn't know that she was ill. And she weighed 5.5 pounds when we got her, and now she weighs 10, which is what she should weigh. It's like 9 or 10,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But yeah, all the cats are here. I don't know why, but they all have to be in the same room as the people.
I mean, dogs in the same room with me.
So, do you want to do another game?
No, let's do another game real quick. That should probably take us right to the launch.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's do Fibbage, because the new one is out.
Right.
And I have the new Jackbox Party back.
Nice.
Yeah. set up everything earlier, so this wouldn't take too long. Someday, though, Eddie, I want to play that sorting game again with y'all.
Which was that?
The one where we were sorting things in like order based on it's like little pink and blue blocks.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was weirdly like
It
we were
was
yelling
fun.
at the screen and
Exactly. All right, so giving you the code. You want me to stream this to Discord for you, Eddie?
yeah, if you could.
No problem.
There we go. Okay. There are new dogs to pick. It's outrageous. You of course picked a skull creature.
I didn't pick it. It was just there. I usually pick either the frog bat. Yeah, I'm gonna be the frog bat. I think I have to get on a video call with you to stream to you.
Oh, well, never mind. I'll just suffer.
Okay, sorry.
How dare. To be fair, it's the first time we're trying this. I mean, this is kind of a new thing for all of us, is this kind of hangout. Not really, you know, streaming a specific work thing, but just kind of hanging out online. So we're figuring things out.
Eddie.
What?
Pathcast voice, but muted. I can do it there.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
It is there for you. Just mute yourself. There you go.
Yes. I muted.
Haha, now you can see it in real time.
Yeah, I can hear it too.
Alright. Anybody else want to play? I'm gonna put the code up.
Yeah. We're not sharing to the.
I know. I have a
Stream
lot
it.
going on.
Again, we're still learning this.
Alright, it's up on the stream.
Close that. Close this. Close the other thing.
It's funny because I technically have it in 3 different places on my screen now because I have it on the actual Steam window, and then I have it in the Discord for you, and then I have it up on OBS.
It's just so much.
There's a lot happening.
Bye, Zach. Thanks for stopping by.
Bye! Ian, Travis, join us. One of you. It'll be fun. See you in chat. Also, Weird Hamster's still in there.
Yeah, but Weird Hamster said they were gonna take a break on this one.
That's fine. There's 3 of us, just 3 of us. We're gonna have a good time
That's cool.
anyway.
Do it.
If anybody wants to be in the audience, they still can. I think there's an audience for this one. I'm hitting the start button.
All right, doing it.
And yes, I am a frog bat. It's my
Of
favorite.
course you are. Page 4. Wow.
This is really quiet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the actual. I can't hear Cookie.
And I don't know why it's so quiet.
That's fine. You still have subtitles. Although I remember Cookie Masterson back when the first Unit No Jack games came out.
Oh, I think I turned the host down too far. It's not a big deal. We can still see what's going on.
Ridiculous.
So the point of this is to lie to people.
Okay, I'm good at that.
I love the graphics on this one, this new one.
Yeah, it is. It's very kind of Monty Python-ish.
What has Eddie chosen? Okay. Like I said, sorry for the host volume, y'all. It's my fault, but I can't really change it at this point. But we can all read, right?
So this is unusual for me because usually these games we're trying to think of the funniest thing, and this is like actually have to come up with a plausible option.
Yep.
It is not my wheelhouse.
One time one time it had a fact that I actually knew, and I was like, "What happens if you put the actual answer?" And it like you get a little pop up. It's like too close to the actual answer.
Interesting.
I believe most of these. I don't know the answer. Audience lied to you.
No. I lied to you.
I tried. Haha.
Oh, the audience got lied to. Oh, Dixie.
It was leeches?
Really, nobody got the truth. Wow.
That was the only one I didn't believe.
Yeah, revenge, yes, sweet revenge.
The audience is
so-
beating me.
Curse you ads.
Tycho will choose this category.
Animal vacation.
All right.
That's appropriate. It's appropriate.
Yeah.
Seal Rescue Ireland. That's amazing. Yeah, initially they actually used my mouse neurons, but I guess Georgia Tech decided leeches because Georgia.
The funniest thing on here is if somebody misspells something, so you can tell it's a lie.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it nice you're watching it in real time, Eddie?
Yes, it is. It's much easier. Ha ha ha! I lied to you.
We all wanted it to be a bucket.
Wow.
It wasn't a bucket.
Wow, good one. Good one. Well done,
Because
sir.
I've seen Walrus in a bucket.
Or
It's the whole
man.
thing.
Or
I gave
friends.
him a couch. Aww.
I would never have guessed couch.
Oh, because he damaged thousands of dollars of boats by jumping on them and napping in them, it says.
Nice.
And yeah, the walrus bucket meme, it's a whole thing. I feel like y'all aren't awarding likes, and I am.
Oh, is that the thing we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, after you pick your thing, after you pick your answer, you can award likes.
Oh. Okay. Oh no.
I feel like it's the fact I actually knew at one point, but I don't know now. Also, yeah, there we go. I don't know. But the point is not to know. The point is
Right.
to have a convincing lie. I like Dovahkiin, but Telltale has an H in it. I really wanted it to be that. I really, really wanted it to be Sassamundsen. Like, I just wanted that to be true.
Oh, Dixie! Audio science. Lexical semantics. Nice, nice.
I freaking Audio Science Sossaman. What a weird ass name. I love it. That means that his initials are ASS, which is not a good initial scheme to give
No.
your child. Dancing fish in sweatpants.
That's a thing you normally see. perfectly normal thing to see.
All point values are doubled. I'm just saying whatever the host is saying because I accidentally turned the host down too far. Oh, it's my turn.
Yes.
Let's see what this is.
Elementary. Please, 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 please.
Nope.
No, not what I wanted.
Anyone who needs. Lie time. It's funny because I keep like doing little dances and stuff like I usually do, and then I remember that A, I'm a dog, and B, I'm not even on screen right now. I'm just a voice right now. So I'm just dancing for myself.
But you're a voice that's dancing.
It's true.
Okay, one of those is obviously bait for me. But I will like it, so. Ah.
Audience, how could you? The key to getting that one right was in 2020, an elementary school teacher started this. Like, do you remember the early days of the pandemic?
I try not to.
Elementary school teachers trying to deal with Zoom classes?
That's fair, that's fair.
Just so we could have this question? Oh, I forgot about the cookie VHS ones. These are funny. We get to watch a little video.
What do you mean? This house is a maze of secret panels, just as I thought. Here's the wire. Now, by tracing this, I think we may find the answer to this entire riddle.
Murder threatens the house with colorful characters. The oddest part, the killer with all of his threatening message written on. Huh. And this is the actual synopsis of whatever the heck this movie is.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, for this game, they've got like a bunch of like public domain movies. Just they could put really weird little obscure clips up.
Which I appreciate.
14 minutes.
It's almost time.
Almost time. 13
Where's
minutes now, according to my thing.
I think this game, much like many of the other games you play, it's like the answers you want it to be true versus the answer it actually is.
I thought cakes would be fun.
Cakes are fun. Wow.
Sorry, Taika Wolf. Sorry, I'm too good.
Fooled the audience.
Last night I received this note of warning from the gorilla.
The gorilla?
Oh, a picture of a gorilla's hand.
What?
That makes more sense.
But still, we weren't ludicrous enough.
Can you imagine receiving a hat in the mail with a threatening message on it?
I would be scared.
It's a very Sherlock Holmesian thing.
It is. Dixie is OP, please nerf. Taika says you're OP.
I mean, I do work for Onyx Path. OP. There, I'm in being hired by parents and personally for children as
I have an answer, but it would not be believable. So. Oh, really? There was a horror movie where cakes were the message of choice? That's sounds wonderful and bizarre.
What movie was that? I want to watch it.
I don't know. Taika Wolf's in
I know. I'm asking Taika Wolf. What movie was that? We're almost at 10 minutes here, Eddie.
Yeah, it's okay. The audience gave you some points.
Ah!
Oh, we both got snookered.
You got me.
Oh. The audience.
What?
Evil uncle.
Okay.
Finish
Oh,
their
it's
homework.
threatening videos. Telling them to finish their homework and stuff.
Ah.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
I figure we're near the end of this, right?
Oh yeah, we're very close to the end. I think there's like a lightning round or some like really quick one at the very end.
Again, it feels like it's the Union Jack structure.
Yeah.
Just questions, then a roast around to double questions, and then
Yeah, this is final fibbage.
Final fibbage.
See?
Yeah,
Two-part question worth triple points.
Oh my god. I actually know the answer to this.
Well, that means that you're going to get the answer right when that happens.
Oh, so the answer has to be for both of these.
Yes.
Yeah, one thing I don't talk about much is that actually I was a really big James Bond fan, but really more the literary stuff than the movies. Very kind of, they came from classified music.
Yeah, actually would work really well.
It's the same answer though, right?
Well, you could pick a different answer if you think that one's more likely.
Oh,
like,
I
especially
see.
if you don't know.
Got it. Got it.
Like everybody. Yep, I figured.
Yep.
Swiss Army lie. Double deception. You got me twice.
Woohoo! I'm actually get a chance to pull this off.
Thanks, audience. I lied a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit of a lie. See, audience, I knew it wasn't
Yeah.
it because it's actually Aston Martin, not Austin Martin. It's
Nope.
spelt.
Oh, Taika Wolf. Buddy. Oh, is it true? Okay, I thought it was, I misunderstood the thing.
It's okay. Yeah, no, there can be different answers for both of them, but
We have to lie has to be both of them.
Yeah.
Got it, okay. Okay, that's it. Yeah, but I knew it was,
Eddie, you won.
oh, hey, hooray. I knew it was a scrambled eggs recipe. That's the one thing I knew.
Chameleons and dice.
I have 14 likes.
Because your answers were generally very funny.
Not mad, just disappointed.
Aw, audience.
You tried.
That was fun.
All right.
I'll go back to
good.
our heads, our faces. Hey, we're back.
And now we're gonna.
I mean, I'm a dog, but also the song at the end of this, which I will let you listen to at some point, is very classified. Like, it's very much like a James Bond joking reference kind of thing. I like it. Eddy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're live again. It's our faces. I said.
Okay. I was like, what happened? Yeah, it looks like my the internet connection here has been notoriously unstable. That's been a factor, but we'll get through it.
We'll get through it. We got about 6 minutes. That's one of the link to the sign up page they can throw in the
I will get that right
in
now.
the chat. And then we can all
Except if I understand Kickstarter correctly,
mm-hmm.
If you click that link, even if after it launches, that same link should work both for the launch and not.
Yeah. Thanks, Nightbot.
Good job, Nightbot.
It's got over 100 followers. So, what are you most excited about, Eddy, in this new version, new edition?
I'm honestly pretty excited about the fact that I have rules for making friends. It's a pretty simple thing, but just having something to track, especially for guides. Okay, here's what this character feels about you. Here's the role you make to make them like you more, or theoretically not like you if you really want to get that up.
Right.
But it's such a key part of the game, and it was one of those like. After it, I was like, why did we not put this first edition? Which is always a good sign of making an edition.
Yeah.
When you start going, oh, why wasn't this in the first edition? It makes so much sense.
Yeah, totally. Maybe so my former D&D group wanted to play a new game, and we have decided to play Pugmire. But we are first playing 1E because I'm not going to run it off a Word manuscript, and they haven't signed NDAs. But we're playing 1E, and I'm going to introduce a couple of things, though, from 2E, like the plastic track, I think, just to make life easier. But past that, we're doing 1E because A, I have all the books, and B, it's out there already. And I don't want to be like, I hate running games off Word documents. I know a lot of people do it, but it is just not for me. No, Mr. Ghost, you're not using the OGL. What is the system for Realms of Pugmire, Eddy?
It's what we call the Onyx 20 system. It is obviously derived from the original first edition of Pugmire, so it's kind of an iteration of it. And so long story short, when I first did Pugmire, it was always meant to be evocative of the original D&D game as opposed to actually, D&D. And that's something we actually ran into trouble with over the years, is people assuming it was 5e compatible, when in fact it was never meant to be 5e compatible.
Yeah, it was like a slimmed down version of those rules, kind of.
Right. But I also had to make some changes to make it work the way I needed it to work. So from the beginning, it was always meant to be its own game system that was meant to be largely evocative of Dungeons and Dragons. And this time around, even before the recent incident, shall we say, I knew that I wanted to take it further in that direction, to where it was the second edition needs to do Pugmire better rather than do Dungeons and Dragons better.
There's a Darby tail.
Oh yes, Darby is up and around.
Sorry, I got very
Darby
excited
update.
for a minute. There was a tail.
Yeah, no, Darby update. We're now sniffing the bed. Very important.
Hi, Darby.
Hi, Darby. Darby wants to be ready and present for when the Kickstarter launches.
Good.
So when the incident happened, we were already kind of well on our way to distancing ourselves from the original system anyway. So the past few weeks have been just me finishing that process. The analogy I used to Rich a while back was the dog was most of the way out of the door. It's kind of had to scoot its butt the rest of the way to go outside. So no, it is not using this edition does not have the open game license attached to it. It's just completely now something that's jointly owned by me and Onyx Path.
Yeah. So yeah, it is still a D20 system. It's gonna feel D&D ish still, but
sure, yeah.
it'll just used a few different terminology pieces and a few different mechanics, I do believe.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people are going to look at this if they're knowledgeable what's going on. They're going, oh, this was changed for legal reasons. And the answer is 85% of the time, the answer is no, I probably was going to change anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff I've changed, even with this go around, stuff I've changed where it's like, I could leave it the same. I'm comfortable doing the same, but I actually wanted to spend that moment to go in there and change it a bit more. And so I'm actually really excited for just the underpinnings as a whole.
Yeah.
I feel like it will make the game better top to bottom for everyone.
Totally. Eddy, we have 1 minute.
I know. I was
if
wrap up this question, but also you're about to start.
Yeah, I'm like refreshing the page. That's why I keep freezing a little bit because I turned my head too far to one side, looking at my second monitor. I think it's happening.
Yeah, and Tiger Wolf's right. It's like, it's fun to make changes that work better rather than I'm not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
And that's true. I mean, there's some stuff that I was genuinely, this always bugged me about games in general. It's one of the reasons like the plastic track exists. I'm not a person who enjoys going on shopping trips in games. I know some people do. They love counting their money and spending their money. I think it's great.
We're live.
So, but I'm not one of them. So that's why I didn't do that. And yep, there we are.
Live.
$0. So now I'm going to take a picture of that real quick.
Yeah. What are you taking a picture of?
Taking a picture of the page.
With your phone?
Yes. So I can post it on the social medias.
Oh. I'm a screenshotter.
Right.
We got a backer.
So, there we go. Well, that's spun up real fast to 415 now.
Ooh.
Someone pledged like $400.
Well, it's 4 backers.
Oh, right, 5 backers. Okay, so $100 each still.
Numbers go up. Numbers go up.
Stonks.
There we go. Now it's working for me.
I'll share that later.
This is exciting.
So remember I said $5 and it would stick there? So that didn't happen. So we've made more than $5 already. I'm happy.
We've already got photo references as a reward for somebody. That's
nice.
like one of the number one things that we do here is the photo reference or adding people's characters to games. Like, people love that. When I love being able to do it. It makes my day when someone's like, oh, I've been playing this character for so long and this is what we're going to do. Or like, someone's pet who passed away recently and they get to put them in the book. Like, it's just really cool.
Honestly, like, it was the biggest reward in the very first Kickstarter. And honestly, ever since then, every time I talk about starting a Kickstarter, one of the questions I get asked is like, will there be the chance for me to put my pet in the book?
Right.
And like I said earlier, people even come to me as writers and like, hey, I want to put my pet in the book in some way. So I mean, it's something cool that Onyx Path does, and I love that we do it. But it's particularly really exciting for Pugmire folks.
Yeah, because I mean, it's your pet or your babies, Like I
exactly.
have. What?
You're saying exactly.
Yeah. Like I love my kibbins.
Do you love them enough to put them in a book?
I mean, yeah, but I can do that for free.
Abuse your dog authority.
Actually, that's actually kind of true. I would Administrate post pictures of their cats in our Discord all the time, and they look exactly like 2 of my cats. And so every time I'm like, did you steal my cats? Because there's a black one and a tortoiseshell, and those are 2 of the 3 I have. So yeah, no, it is funny every time. I'm like, I didn't post that picture, or that's not my house. And also they're weird because those 2 cats in my world don't like each other all that much.
Right.
And so, like, if I see theirs, like, sleeping together, I'm like, wait, those can't be my cats. They don't like each other.
Fake news. Fake news. It's some kind of weird AI rendition of my cats.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. How's the numbers doing? Numbers go up.
15555 already.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's been 3 minutes. We've already made $1,500. So, hooray.
Excellent. That's exciting. If anyone does have any questions while we're hanging out, feel free to put them in the chat. Past that, we're just going to hang out here and talk about the game a little more.
Yeah,
also, I do love the fact that the zoom thing tracks if you stick your tongue out. So,
I have to do mine the hard way.
But yeah, so what are there any other new things in this version that you're really excited about? Like, I love the new character creation option. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. Yes. So, for those who don't know, we don't have pre-generated characters in the book like we did in first edition because initially I put them there because that's what most of our games have, right? It's the, hey, it's a brand new game. I don't like a character. Let me just grab a character of the book and play it. And for Scion, for other games that use it, that works just fine.
Right.
But I found out pretty quickly that most people wanted to make their dogs, their cats, whatever. And so this time around, one of the things I wanted to do was what I would call a template character creation, where basically you can just pick a bunch of options off a menu and write some stuff down in your character sheet and have a reasonably well-balanced character that will allow you to quickly make a concept you want to without having to go through full character creation. Obviously, if you have a very specific concept in mind, you can use full character creation to do that out. And then when I started working on that, I realized that all of the math, except for one table, was the even number. So I was able to just say, okay, what happens to random character creation? And of course, I was like, that's simple. And then I actually did it the first time. I was like, oh, I have to actually rewrite almost everything to make that work correctly, flow correctly. But now, yeah, so it's done. And actually, Dixie's on my playtester for that. And I actually did that. Advice was great to kind of refine even further. And I did a video, which I think is going up on the YouTube next week or so, where I actually do character creation from start to finish with random character creation live on the video. And it takes about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's really fast. It was really, really fun. And I also benefited when I was playtesting it from having recently done random character creation for the Warhammer 40k fantasy role-playing game, which has a similar kind of thing. And it's very, very cool. Also, there is a whole bunch of preview up right now that anybody can look at, which is very exciting.
Yes.
It goes all the way through character creation. So if you want to see all that stuff we were just talking about.
Yeah. At the end of chapter 2, you'll see exactly that.
Yeah. There's
random
a
character creation.
73-page document that has gone up since the Kickstarter started, which I think is cool. I love the fact that we do this.
Yeah, so you get a chance to kind of see what's going to happen in the game. I mean, that's back to the very first one we did. We had an early access thing where you can play a version of the game earlier on. But it's something that I've always been a fan of doing. Obviously, we're do it very differently now. We don't have, except we originally Mike laid it out with art and all of that. And we couldn't do it this time around for a lot of reasons. But I mean, just being able to have that manuscript available, it's time and again. Every once in a while, someone will say, "Hey, you know what? I thought this was one thing. I got the manuscript. I'm not really liking it."
Right.
And I would rather you say, "Okay, take your money, reject your pledge. Have a nice day." You know, I'm not mad. I would rather you not give me your money than give me your money, then find out the game's not what you wanted and feel like you were ripped off.
Yeah, like if you're gonna pay for something, you want to pay for the thing you want. You know, like it's not that hard. So, like, I would rather you like the thing you paid for, personally.
Yeah, and it was also cool. Alex mentioned that they did largely random creation for Evolved I4, which is the playtest stream that's going on the Onyx Path Twitch every Saturday, Friday. I always forget the day.
Oh no, it's on the pre-roll somewhere.
Right. Somewhere around here, there's a schedule that would tell you that information. I don't have off the top of my head because I've been rewriting furiously. In fact, this morning I got up 6 a.m. Took Darby for a walk. Oh, I usually get up at 5 actually.
I know,
so
that's too early for me.
But after I took Darby for a walk and had my breakfast, I started rewriting Magic, and I've been rewriting pretty much right up until more or less this launched. So about 6 hours of rewriting the Magic chapter.
Wow. Are you pleased with it?
Yeah, I am. Travis has mentioned it is Saturdays 4 p.m. So no show this week, but next week they'll be back. So if you want to get a sense of the play that's going on, definitely check out Evolved I4.
Totally. Especially because this week we have the Kickstarter going on, so
Yes.
everyone just pay attention to that instead.
Also, speaking of actual plays, this is gonna be super random, and y'all just have to accept that. We have the first episode of the game I ran for Red Moon Role Playing went up this morning, which was Tower of the Olephant, and that's a little darker because Red Moon Role Playing is generally more of a horror actual play podcast. And so we talked through, and it's not horror per se, but it's definitely a darker, a little more kind of weird take on Pugmire, which I've always felt Pugmire can do. I mean, we talked about that way back when Squeaks in the Deep Kickstarter was a couple of years ago, and we did an actual play for that. It's like that was the spooky kind of creepy area of Pugmire, and this is more in that vein. But that was also a load of fun. As you give me a chance to kind of push myself in some new directions that I hadn't really done as a guide before. It was a market big game because at the end the players were like, "Wait, that's it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the time we had allotted," and they were mad about it. They were angry. So that's good.
Yeah, we've got to take some stuff from the Squeaks game that we did a while back for my players for the campaign I'm running for them, because they all got super excited about like dungeon crawling and mice and rats and psionics and things all of a sudden. So that kind of solidified what we were going to be playing. Pugmire is one of those games that, like, I know some people like to look at it, and we talked about this in a million interviews, so it's not like new information. But I saw it happen in real time this past weekend because I was talking to my players about what we wanted to play, and it was like they weren't excited about Silly Dog Game, and then I kept telling them more details about the setting, and by the end of an hour, they were so freaking excited about the dog game. Because I was like, it's far future, the tech, here's how this works. I gave them a couple of setting secrets just because they were curious. And like it's stuff we talked about like on the Pathcast, so it's not secret. But like, yeah, no, they were so excited when they found out more about the world. And one of them immediately was like, I'm gonna play a mouse archaeologist who's trying to find the bones of man. And I'm like, yeah, but you probably think man was like 18 feet tall if you've seen any depictions of them next to you. So any bones you find, you might write off as monkeys. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, that's part of the charm of the game.
Right. It is intentionally getting it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be really fun to see what they do. I know, I think I have a mouse and a rat, and the other two are still undecided last time I checked on what they were going to play. But I'm like, you can play whatever the heck you want. Have fun.
Oh, so it's going to be like a more of a Squeaks and Deep game?
It's going to be a mixed
Or just happened
party.
that way?
Yeah, well, it just happened that way because one player just really wanted to be a mouse and another one really just liked the psionics in general.
Okay.
But that's fine, whatever. And then the other two are like, I don't know yet. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Here are your options. Let me know. I will lend you my book. Yes, it is kind of to the tone of Discworld. It is a kind of silly concept addressed completely seriously.
Yeah.
And I love stuff like that, even though obviously Discworld has a lot of satire in it. Pugmire doesn't have quite as much. Right. Although there are some things that can easily be read as satire throughout Pugmire, depending on, what section you're looking at.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Whereas Discworld kind of directly does a satire, Pugmire more leaves the room open for the satire that can be found.
Right.
When I'm actually writing fiction for Pugmire, I tend to actually focus on satire more. Like, for example, I do tend to use the dog and cat animosity as a way of exploring xenophobia and out of control patriotism and nationalism, because I think there's a lot of room to do that in a way that's not offensive, but still explores that concept in a really interesting way.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, I think one of my favorite genres of fiction is ludicrous concept played seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I love Doctor Who. I love comic books. These are all things that, I mean, so one of my big beefs is that sometimes people look at, say, Japanese media or Russian media or just media that's not American or Western and go, that's weird. And it's like, there's this weird manga about a guy who gets reincarnated as a slime and takes over a fantasy world. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. That's strange. But how fundamentally strange, compare it to a long-running comic book about an Aztec god who's actually an alien who comes to Earth believing he's a doctor with a disability. And his brother, who is also his enemy, is fighting because he's descended from ice giants, and it's like it's ridiculous when you actually spell it all out, you know.
Yeah, no, it is silly.
But I mean, but the Thor movies are great because they're played completely straight.
Right.
They just lose the concept. It just absolutely makes sense. Doctor Who again. It's a ridiculous concept, but they just play it so straight, and it's like, okay, yeah, I believe that I'm alien in a box travels through time. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, one of my one of the inspirations, if you look at the manuscript preview, is Adventure Time, which is one of my all-time favorite cartoons. I'm actually rewatching it right now because I found out that my boyfriend has only seen like an episode here and there.
Oh wow!
And I was like, oh, we should watch it from the beginning because it's 11-minute episodes. We can watch like 6 a night, you know, and just kind of like chill. So we're on season 1 because we're doing like a couple every night after our normal viewing. And it is really fun. And now that I'm like rewatching it for the first time in almost a decade, I'm definitely seeing so many things. And I'm just like, I can put that in Pugmire. I can put that in Pugmire. I'm just going to use Adventure Time as my Pugmire setting pretty much because it is that weird post-apocalyptic mixture of tech and strange things and humans and monsters and, you know, strange places and magic that might be technology, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really amazing how well it does scan to Pugmire, even though I know that wasn't like the entire intention.
No.
But the imagery works really well for me.
Right.
And so yeah, I've been watching it and just thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do that. And it's really nice because I'm not the best improvisational guide. So having some little like episodes and quirks I can draw on to a table of people who have not really watched Adventure Time, will be really nice because I could just put them through an episode every now and then.
Yeah, and that's actually why that's why we do the inspiration things, right? I mean, I don't like to say steal ideas from these, but that's really what they're there for, you know. It's you watch them and go, oh, what if I use this in there, and also like I'm not quite sure how to sell this to my players. So here's some inspirations. Go, oh, have you seen this? Okay, then it's like that. Digression, but on Adventure I mentioned that I maintained a +2 in the upbringing abilities makes them a bit stronger because originally, for everyone else in the audience, the +2 added to the score, which netted to a +1 to the modifier as opposed to a +2. I did the math on the back end, and I decided to get the +2 for a couple of reasons. One is the mutts don't make sense otherwise, because the whole point of the mutt is that you're a little more diverse. You can put a +1 in each. And in the original edition, that meant it to kind of nothing, you know. And so mutts actually weren't that fun because you didn't really get any real benefit from it immediately. But the other thing is that because the experience bonus starts at +1 as opposed to +2 this time around, the math is the same at first level, but then at second level you start to get a benefit immediately.
Right.
So you're going to get stronger faster in this edition. So level 10 is going to be a little stronger than it was before. But also, to be blunt, it makes my math easier if I know there's a systemic progression that I can control, as opposed to the original version is like you may improve none of your stuff except for your proficiency bonus. And so basically the damage and stuff you do at level 1 is only going to be like 4 or 5 more points at level 10. Like that made it hard to adjust for.
Right.
Now this way it's like, okay, I can railroad you, as it were, kind of lock you into a progression path, at least on that front, so I can then balance monsters better. So yeah, it's a lot of reasons why I did it that way. But at the end of the day, if you pick your upbringing, the upbringing needs to be a significant impact on what kind of dog you are. So having a +2 really sells that.
I'm also really glad that we kept upbringing from squeaks, because that was the term that I introduced to be like, I think, how about we call it this? Because there's no other way to differentiate these creatures.
Yep.
Like, there are really easy ways to differentiate the birds, obviously, because it's like the wing placement and ability. And then what we were calling at the time lizards that are now reptiles also clearly had 3 different things we were doing with it. Right. And then we got to mouse and rat character creation, and I was like, as many variations as there are on mice and rats in the world, they're all really similar. It's kind of the same thing as the like cat problem, right?
Yep.
Of like, yes, there are breeds of cats, but the vast majority of cats are just cats. Like, most cats are domestic short hairs or domestic long hairs.
Yeah, we define cats by their coat, and we define dogs by their breed.
Right. And all 3 of my cats are just DSH, is what we call them, you know, on forums, because they're domestic short hairs. So like, yeah, it's really interesting once you get into some of the other animals, and it's been fun kind of backpedaling that and bringing it back to dogs, because I think a lot of times people in Pugmire, because of the way breed work, they would play what was essentially a quote unquote purebred dog, right? Or they would think it was funny to play like a dachshund who was raised by the Great Dane family, because George Great Dane being a dachshund is hilarious. But like a lot of people's dogs are rescues, right? Like that's just common, and a lot of people, and a lot of those rescues are mutts. Like a lot of them are not one kind of dog. So because of that, the upbringing thing gives you a way to make that work. You can make your Great Dane companion who's half boxer or whatever, and that's your dog. That's the dog that you own, and that's great. And I really, really love that flexibility is now going to be in all of the species and not just a couple of them.
And there's some kind of design / other reasons why I did that, but one thing that really helped me to solidify my mind and wanted to go this route was getting Darby, because Darby is a boxer. She's a big, beautiful boxer, and most boxers are perceived as strong dogs, right?
Yeah.
And so by mechanically, she would have been a worker, but Darby lays on the couch. She's super adorable. She is everyone in the world's friend.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, she may have been born a boxer, but she grew up in a world where people were her friends, and her best asset was making friends as much as possible and not using her strength.
Right.
So I was like, okay, it makes a lot more sense for her to have been a companion. And so I was like, okay, now I'm starting to really feel like this is a better way of representing things, because I think a lot of people are just going to go, oh, my dog's strong, and so I'll just pick the strong dog category. And that's fine. So like most people are going to go with whatever their breed dog tends to be good at, and pick it, and that's great. It doesn't invalidate any of those choices. But for those, like you said, those edge cases, those rescues, those mixed breeds, it's much easier to kind of go, okay, my dog's a cute dog versus my dog's a smart dog, and just pick that category rather than going, well, this category says that that's where my Mariners go, so I guess I need to take that one.
Right, exactly. Because I've met really mean Chihuahuas, and I have met really nice giant fluffy dogs that were like my weight. That I do have a thing. I'm a little scared of large dogs, just because I've been chased by dogs a couple times.
Right.
So like they're dogs, I'm like, the dog is scary, and then as soon as I meet the dog, I'm like, oh, that dog is very nice. That dog likes everybody. There's no malice in this dog's heart. And so I love it. And also somebody did mention in the chat that they love that in the companion's view and other upbringings, everyone starts with "Hello, friend," and that is also one of my favorite things. I died laughing when I first read that.
I really enjoyed writing it, because that's actually new to this edition, because we had done the different columns to each other, and we never did that for the upbringings.
Right.
And so I did it time around, and it just rolled off. And I was like, I started writing them all out, and I was like, what if I just started them all with "Hello, friend"? Because really, to them, everyone's a friend, and I just really love doing it. Similar, like all the runner ones are no sentences longer than 5 words. They're all like super short, like what this? Hey, what are we? Because they're talking really fast.
I love that. I'm like scooting through it now. I'm just kind of like looking at some of the stuff that got posted. It's exciting. I also love all the backgrounds to make me happy.
Yeah.
A Rottweiler Husky. Yeah. Nice. So someone in chat said this is making me think of making a Rottweiler Husky hybrid because they're very cute and they have amazing blue eyes. But he's going to be annoyed at people thinking that he does magic because he has really, really, really bright blue eyes. And he's like, no, I just look like this.
And that's actually one thing that I almost wrote out but I kept in, was that it is entirely possible to play a magic user who can't cast spells. And I was worried because I not very many, but a couple people were like worried that someone might make a mistake and not choose the spell thing to cast spells and think they can cast spells. And I was like, that, and then sure, actually was like, I don't think anyone's ever actually done that. I feel like it's more of a concern over a thing that doesn't actually happen. Which, to be perfectly honest, that is a thing that happens in game design, is people worry about situations at the table that will never actually occur. But I felt like there is I want this to be a game where people can genuinely make characters that are kind of incompetent.
Right.
Because the way the game is structured, you can't accidentally be incompetent, but you can intentionally be incompetent.
Right.
If you're just putting numbers down on the page, the way the math works, you're probably gonna be pretty good just about anything. It's really hard to be bad at something by just putting numbers down. And again, you're gonna know stuff you're bad at. Like if I put up a -2 on something, okay, I'm bad at that. Okay, so it's pretty clear the stuff that you're bad at.
Right.
And much like a lot of Onyx Path games, we like to design games where characters are generally competent by default. So I definitely want to make sure that was still absolutely there. But I played a Tremere who had no thaumaturgy once in a vampire game.
Oh yeah, you talk about the character.
Yeah, I mean he used psychic, he used the Auspex because to his mind that's just valid magic, and of course the rest of the Tremere clan did not agree. But if you want to play Rincewind, who is a wizard but can only cast one spell,
And that spell is not a spell you want to cast.
right? So mechanically, he has no spell casting,
Right.
but he still identifies as a wizard.
With 2 Z's.
Exactly.
That's actually really interesting, Auto Defenestrate.
I was reading the same thing.
Yeah. So you said in the chat, a lot of Chihuahuas I've met have been incredibly aggressive, but I think that comes to some of the upbringing versus breed talk. Because someone once told them part of the reason small dogs get so much more aggressive than larger ones is people don't take a small dog seriously when they're upset. But they, of course, take like a Newfoundland's mood very seriously because that dog could eat you. And I understand that. I am way less likely to be upset if a Pomeranian is chasing me than if, a St. Bernard is.
Right, exactly. And actually that's something that came up when I started doing first edition is because I had one dog breeder actually email me a very cool long email about how dog breeding works.
Right.
And a lot of what we consider to be breed dispositions are trained.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, we train these, like again, going back to boxers, like boxers are trained to be working dogs. There are certain inclinations, like she likes to jump up and use her feet, but we've trained her not to do that, and so she doesn't much anymore. She is strong, but she doesn't really recognize her own strength because we don't encourage her to use her strength very much. She barely barks, honestly. When she does bark, we're all like surprised, and she's even a little surprised, so she tends not to bark after that. So yeah, I mean, she's up. She would be a lap dog if we could survive the experience.
Yeah, if she was like a quarter of her size.
Right, but she is 80 pounds, and I can't. My lap can handle it.
I mean,
I'm not built for that kind of.
She could do the like head lap thing, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, she puts her head in the lap, or she'll. The other thing is that she likes to lean. She'll get next to me and then lean, but then she'll start leaning like right here on the ribs, and he's like just start to creak, and it's like Derby, that's a bit much. I'm falling. I gotta go.
That's great. I have recently tricked my cats into joining me on the couch with the addition of a heating pad.
Oh, nice.
A like pet safe heating bed thing. It's not like just a random heating pad. But yeah, it's pretty great because I like having a cat next to me. I don't really love having a cat on me. And one of my cats always wants to be on you, and I'm like, can you not be on me right now? So I've done the heating pad, and now that cat prefers laying on the heating pad, and I'm like, great, lie down. I'll reach over and pet you every few seconds or a few minutes or whatever. You're happy, I'm happy, and there's a cat on me.
Right. There's an interesting conversation in chat that Story Path is very much based around don't roll unless failure is dramatically interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the OGL sphere makes you want to roll when their particular skill comes up, and sometimes that can derail a game. And that's something that I've tried to write around with Onyx 20. Is that to only roll when it's interesting, because the example I usually give is the notice skill. It's like, okay, you're in a room trying to find a way out. Roll your notice skill. There's a secret door here. Everyone fails. Now what happens?
Right. That's boring. Like,
right. You're really just rolling until you find. If you're just wanting to see who's the person that notices the secret door, then frame it as such. Everyone make a notice skill. Whoever rolls the highest notices the secret door.
Yeah.
You can do that. There are ways that you can still get the rolling experience, but progress the story forward.
Totally.
But the same with Pugmire is that if you really want to roll for something, you can roll for just about anything and have an okay chance of succeeding.
Yeah.
But If it's not interesting, don't do it.
Exactly. I feel that way about a lot of like lock picking.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand why you can't just keep trying unless you like break the lock. I guess like if you roll a 1 and you break it, fine, then you can't try anymore. But if you roll like a 14 and the answer was 15, I should just be able to keep doing it until I get it, because that's how some things work. And so that's always been one of the weirdest parts of various D20 systems to me, or just various role-playing games in general, where it's like there's some things you should be able to retry, you know?
Right.
And it's weird that games mechanically are like, nope, you failed. You can never do it now.
But in defense of that a little bit, one of the things that I did do with this edition is botching, which has always been a part of really all Onyx Path games. That kind of critical failure, if you prefer. But it doesn't really do anything in Pugmire. I never really did. It was just kind of there of like, oh yeah, you roll a 1, bad things happen, because that's kind of what was expected. So I won't say stole. I'll say it was inspired by momentum from Storypath. The idea that if you roll a 1, you actually generate a fortune. And that's something new to this edition. Because that way, failure is always at least passingly interesting.
I might use that in my other game too. One of the many things I might just steal from 2E to put in 1E so I can play it.
I mean, honestly, if you're using it for 5E, just saying a 1 gets you inspiration is actually something that I wrote the idea down then in the D&D game I'm playing, and my roommate actually started using that.
Oh, nice.
5E version of the rule. I mean, it works really well, actually.
That's great.
So I got to playtest that because it's I rolled a 1, but at least I have something for it feels like I'm saving it. I'm now saving this failure into a success down the road.
Yeah, it's your consolation prize for losing this time.
Right, and for Pugmire specifically, if you're just rolling for crap, then the group's going, no, but you're contributing to the group. You're giving us more fortune, so you're actually helping us by doing this.
Yeah, totally. Like, yeah, I was definitely in a game once where our bard could not roll above a 2 for some reason. Just kept like rolling 1s on Eldritch Blasts 24/7, just constantly screwing them up. And it's like, yeah, that would have been really helpful if we had gotten an inspiration for the table every time that happened.
Yeah, and also, again, this is, while Pugmire is not a comedy game, it's definitely a game that has funny bits. And by having a mechanic that rewards you for failing, I think that also plays into the tone a bit more, right?
Yeah.
It's not they came from by such imagination, but certainly the sense of, well, you failed, but let's talk about how funny that happens, and then you get a point for it. But also, even if you play it really straight and serious, it's a case of you learn from this, or you've something about this inspired you to try to do better in future. Similar, one of the things I don't talk about as much actually, but I did rewrite the personality traits, but now personality statements, which were the I'm inspired by my bonds too, and no matter what, you just can't.
Right.
I really loved the structure of finishing a sentence to kind of help define your character. But for some reason, it took me until like the middle of last year to go, why is one of the statements not "I'm a good dog because"?
Right.
And so that's the very first one, and it really a lot of people seem to gravitate to that and go, oh, obviously that, to the point where like a bit of a Berenstein moment where it's like, oh yeah, that was always there. It's like, no, I absolutely knew that was not there because I put that there. I'm deeply aware that was not there originally, but it's so obvious. A lot of people thought, oh, wasn't it there always? So being able to do stuff like that, that means also going forward, I can refine those statements for each species in a different way. It's a similar kind we did, like, where cats had mysteries and rodents had whispers.
Yeah.
I can now change the statements a bit more so that way there's always a new statement to be answered. But it really helps to sell the game of like, of course, the dog's number one question or number one statement is I'm a good dog because.
Which, I mean, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Because then for Monaco's Mal, I mean, I may change my mind, but right now I'm probably going to have that I'm an excellent cat because. Because I've often talked about the good dog, excellent cat dynamic, but it's something that just isn't on the page.
Yeah. It's one of the things that we reference a lot of times, like, be an excellent cat. We'll say at like the end of a Kickstarter video. And then it's like, it's not actually really defined what makes an excellent cat.
Right.
Not per se.
And then allowing players to make that decision for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, that's where the botching comes back in, is because you can still intentionally go, okay, this makes sense for my character because it's a personality statement. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to intentionally botch to give the group some fortune because my character would do that.
Yeah, totally.
That's something that I've always wanted in the game. It's always been there. But to be honest, most people struggle to wrap their heads around intentionally failing.
Mm-hmm.
So by having people randomly fail and generate that, they go, oh, actually, this is pretty fun. Now maybe I'll go ahead and intentionally do that.
Right.
So no, that's chance kind of the connection.
Yeah, I like failing on purpose and failing forward and stuff like that. I think it's fun sometimes to screw up something on purpose. That's why I will happily play a character that just runs headlong into danger.
Yes,
it's fun.
Right. I don't know. But to be fair, that is a learned way of playing.
Right.
Because I'm gonna sound exactly as 48 as I am, but video games these days teach us that success is the only way to actually have a good time.
Yeah, I can see that.
There are some video games recently come out that have actually explored fun and failure. Demon Souls is one that comes to mind. Or Elden Ring.
all the Souls likes.
Right.
Dark Souls, Elden Ring, whatever.
That's a relatively new take on an older concept of difficulty as fun.
Uh-huh.
Original difficulty was just a way of artificially extending gameplay. The Demon Souls, all that genre was really no, this is inherently fun. But even I was like, why would this be fun? I don't understand. Why would continually failing be fun? And there are times when I realized, okay, no, I see what this is doing and I appreciate it now. But but through that I found it's much more fun in tabletop role-playing games because usually the cost is pretty minor, especially if you have control over it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, I'm gonna get arrested by the guards and let my friends escape. It's usually a negotiation of some sort.
Right.
It's like, I will fail and have this thing happen to me so that this other good thing happens to somebody else or to move the story forward.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's okay, so I get captured and then my friends will break me out later. You know, there's no, you very rarely have like, I'm going to die for this. And even then, if you do that, maybe it's a very specific game style that it says up front, you're going to go through character sheets like crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and that's like you said, that's a style. The other video games I think that do that well are games like Hades and other like roguelikes. Like you're gonna die over and over again. That's kind of the point of the Hades run. Yeah. And then also a lot of the really narrative games like your Disco's Elysium and
Disco's Elysium. Yes.
Yeah, I started doing that because of Attorneys General. It's a problem. But yeah, like Disco Elysium or Pentiment that I was talking about recently. Failure is interesting. Because you don't get a piece of information or you don't do a thing properly that leads to other consequences that are narratively interesting. And those games are more about being narratively interesting than they are about winning.
Right.
And I think that's how I think most people feel about role-playing games, right? The whole point is to make a story together. Mm-hmm. So if you're just going for narratively interesting, I mean, heroes in epics, fantasies fail constantly. And then they get back up and they try again. Like that's kind of the myth cycle on some level. That's definitely part of the like story circle way of planning and hero's journey. It's just fun to sometimes have a failure and then come back from it and overcome your difficulties.
Right. And I mean, that's a lot of modern fiction, right? Like, it's almost a joke of the action hero that gets thrown off a building and then like has like a Band-Aid on their face.
Right.
I mean, but that's really is like, we expect our heroes to be much more tenacious and resolute than normal people. Mm-hmm. So in our fiction, in our interactive fiction, that seems to pan out. Like, Ian mentioned Celeste. If you die immediately, you respawn at the beginning of the room. Mm-hmm. I was going to say it's very similar to Shovel Knight. You lose a little bit of money, but even then, you can get the money back if just the money bags that you lose are floating in the air. As long as you jump and collect them, you get all your money back. So there's almost no cost to doing it unless you're just really, really bad.
Yeah, no, I am a fan of games where if you die, you just essentially go try again immediately. Like nothing really changes past that. Mm-hmm. Because that is definitely what I have been Like I've been playing the Tomb Raider games recently, the like newer mm-hmm. ones. Partially because I just wanted a single player game, partially because I got them for free on Epic Games. And I had never played them, and I was like, hey, lady protagonist climbing things. It sounds about as close to Assassin's Creed as I can get without playing Assassin's Creed again.
Yeah.
And I'm having a great time. And yeah, if you die in that, it just takes you back to essentially the beginning of the little area where you died, which is not ever far. Like usually, it's a matter of feet. So that's really, really nice. I've also,
and to tie back to an earlier comments, most of those are written by Rihanna Pratchett, who was daughter of Terry Pratchett.
Yes, I had forgotten about that until I saw the credits, and I was like, yay. Because they were very fun, in my opinion. And yeah. So...
I would digress, but Odd Demonstrate mentions the colors in the new art.
Yes.
They really pop. And it's one thing I want to actually call out because I haven't had a chance to talk about much of the art. We were really happy with the art in first edition, obviously.
Yeah.
So we actually had a meeting. I was like, hey, we're doing a new edition. Do you want to talk about this? And it was pretty quickly was like, we don't want to change the overall guidance of the art. Like, how we get the art, what kind of artists we approach. That'll make sense. But one of the things that specifically Mike Chaney brought to the table as art director, and one of the many, many, many reasons why he's a fantastic art director, is he started saying, let's look at some newer stuff that's come out in the past few years.
Right.
And he picked one example of that was pretty obvious to me, which is Armello.
Yes.
Armello is a computer game which has animal protagonists. It's got a darker edge to it, a strong political structure, and so Mike's like, this makes a lot of sense for Pugmire. So, and he knew some of the artists that worked on Armello.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, that's great. But then through them, he also thought of Hearthstone, which I would not have thought of initially.
Right.
But he started pulling up some references from some of the Hearthstone cards in the Hearthstone game. And again, they look very similar to stuff we've been talking about on the Armello side or other Pugmire stuff. And again, he knew some artists that worked on Hearthstone. So that between them, there's this style of modern video game concept art that's a little cartoony, but has a bit of an edge and a vibe to it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that comes with that is that they are fantastically colorful.
Right.
And which is especially useful because Pugmire uses lots of leather and gold as kind of its grounding color scheme.
Right.
So having something that's really colorful kind of helps with that. And again, the original art was also very colorful, but this is kind of colorful in a very distinctive way.
Yeah.
And Other Demonstrate's right. It does really pop. And when I first got some of the stuff back, it was just like, it was 100% Pugmire, but also it really
imagine our world.
No, totally. I mean, that's like I played a lot of Hearthstone when it first came out, and so I can definitely see all those influences. And I do enjoy the kind of shift that we did in the art direction for this, because I like you said, the old art was amazing. It was really good for first edition, and it's just like it was a little more muted, a little more gritty.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like that works for the tone of the game. But I think that this makes it a little more fantastical.
Right.
Which I really enjoy as well, because it's just good to have. Also, I think you see a little bit more of like the technology in some of the images, like the one with the dog that has the like controller looking thing with the flames.
That was something that actually I wanted to add this time around.
Okay.
Because when we first started talking about this, Rich helped me with the initial kind of art design before Mike took over the art direction. So let me roll back quick. Art design is me and Rich sitting down and going, okay, let's talk through what the world's going to look like, figure out the boundaries, figure out the rules for the visuals of the world. Rich did a lot of concept art for that. Direction then takes all of those concepts, starts to find good artists for them, and then make sure they're consistently complied. So when we first talked about it, I wanted to have a little more kind of sci-fi stuff, and Rich kind of really wanted to focus it more on fantasy stuff. And he convinced me because his argument at the time was that the people coming to this new are going to be like, oh, this is a fantasy game, and they're having to recognize it's a fantasy game, and that dogs the characters, and it's serious. So that's enough to kind of wrap their heads around to kind of buy into the concept.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And anything that detracts from that fiction might be just one step too far.
Mm-hmm.
And like at the time, I was like, you know what, that makes sense. I'm on board. Let's go ahead and do that. Now that it's getting close to a decade, Pugmire is established, and I was like, I'd really like to start to sell the fact that it's a little bit of sci-fi, a bit more into the world. And we all agreed. And what Rich was like, yeah, now's the time to do that. So it's like, where we were before versus where we are now, it makes sense to kind of nudge things forward. And so the example we have as the the image for the video, and also I think it's our current cover image for our not pending cover, but it's a picture of a dog with a bow and arrow shooting a suit of armor, but it's pretty clearly kind of a steampunk robot.
Also, there's a reticle.
Yes.
On the image.
Right. So it's starting to sell the fact that it's a little bit more post-punk, because you're right. When people start first hearing the concept, I think we're running into now is it's D&D with dogs. Okay, that's one thing. But to be blunt, I kind of started that, really, in a lot of ways. And then a whole bunch of D&D and dog stuff came after that.
Yeah.
And so now it's next step to be able to say, okay, it's D&D dogs in a sci-fi world.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's dogs in a fantasy game. They think it's fantasy world, but it's really secretly a sci-fi world.
And yeah, it's a sci-fi world they don't understand. So blah blah blah, indistinguishable from magic. Blah blah blah.
Right, exactly. And so being able to kind of tweak that and put it in the art a bit more, so that people are glancing at it are starting to see, oh, this is the concept. Because again, culturally, dogs being in fantasy concepts is no longer as weird as it was in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
As to why I didn't have much art for the monsters, no, it was just came down to finances. I mean, each piece of art costs a certain amount of money, and we have lots of monsters. It can be very expensive. There's a part of the reason why you don't see a lot of monster compendiums, except for by bigger publishers, is because it can be very expensive to pay for all that art.
Mm-hmm.
So this time around, I mean, I would like to get more art. We'll see kind of how this Kickstarter does, frankly.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the reason. If anything, I mean, I could have injected that more into the art pieces we had. And as pointed out somewhere else in the chat, like, with Fetch Quest, we did other versions of those characters, but again, we just didn't do that because that was not the direction we're going in. Now we can open up the edges a bit more. We can show people kind of what's really happening in this world. And I could put the words down the page all day, but one thing I've learned working with Rich and the folks at Onyx Path is that the art really helps to ground the words.
Mm-hmm.
And so the game works best if the art and the words are not necessarily in sync, but are pointing in the same direction.
Yeah, they have to be friends.
Right. And sometimes some creative dissonance can be good.
Mm-hmm.
Having the odd piece that's, just a little off helps out. Like the image that I keep going back to, I don't know why, it's one of my favorite art pieces, but for Hunters Hunted, I was really running out of ideas for art notes. I found this, I don't know, there's a guy dressed like a priest who's punching a vampire out.
Mm-hmm.
Fully expecting this to be nixed. And sure enough, I got a picture of a priest with a fist wrapped in tape, punching the crap out of a vampire. And when I saw it on the page, I actually like it because like the context of the page, like how hunters have to be careful and work their way through, and then you have this image of a guy just clocking a vampire. But in that case, the dissonance between the words and the art actually works really well, because you can see, okay, this is the fantasy of the hunter compared to the reality as you're seeing written on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some interesting tension there. And so going into Pugmire, not quite that same level of extreme dissonance, but still it's a case of I'm describing to you, say, a suit of animated armor, as a statue come to life, and then you see the picture, goes, oh, that's a robot.
Right.
That, to me, that's the fun of Pugmire, is always been the guy trying to describe everything in fantasy language, and there's like kind of a meta game of the players going, okay, is that an Apple store?
Oh, yeah, totally.
A parking garage? What are we talking about here?
I love trying to figure out where I am in various Pugmire games, like especially the ones that you've run for me. Because I know you always have something in mind where it's like, what this is. What this thing is in our world or in the future world that you have, dreamt up. But I don't know what it is. Like the whole like silvery goo thing from the one Squeaks in the Deep game. Where there was just like a pool of silvery stuff. And I was like, I don't know what the frick this is. It turned out it was like nanites that would heal you.
Yep.
But I'm just a mouse. I don't know what this is.
And also there are some times where I just I don't entirely know, but it's just an interesting sci-fi concept.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spoil it, but
don't spoil
for
it.
the Red Moon role-playing actual play, there is a very, very sci-fi concept behind all the weirdness that's happening in the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get to the end of it, it's pretty clear what the sci-fi concept is, but I don't want to say what it is going up front.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But the players are definitely kind of doing that. What is going on? What is this? And finally, when they realized what it was almost too late.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, I like I said, I'm devising a game right now, and I'm definitely like thinking about all the stuff that I can throw at my players that I'll know what it is. It'll be really fun. And we definitely have one person in the group who is going to be the person who needs to know what everything is, because that's just already his personality.
Right.
So I'm like, this is going to be really funny trying to like sneak stuff by him, because that's kind of my plan, is to try to see if I can get some stuff by just like one player. It'll be great.
And honestly, I have found that the more mundane the object, if you just really describe detail, it confounds people. One game I was running for a play. This was several years ago. I was running a play test. I think it was for Monarchy's Mount, and they're like descending into kind of underground cavern. And so it's like, I was describing like there's a staircase, and they're all kind of locked into place, and it looks like they've been kind of clad in metal, maybe to help reinforce them or to kind of make sure that they don't rot away, because the stone looks kind of soft and crumbly. And so, okay, a cat goes and walks the staircase, and it's like suddenly the staircase starts to shift, and suddenly you feel yourself being borne down into the guts of.
So it was an escalator.
It was an escalator. But like for like 10 minutes, the players were like, "What the? Is this a trap? Do we have to make defense rolls?" Like, no, it seemed to be just conveying you along just fine. And then after a while, it's like suddenly you hear strange atonal music coming from the walls, and someone's like, "Oh my god, it's an escalator."
That's amazing. I love it. I love that so much. Especially because, like, I'm in the DC area, and some of our metro stations have absurd escalators. Like, they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're really long. Like, there are a few that I don't love going down because they're just really, really, really long. And I'm always like, this would be the scariest thing to fall down. And so, yeah, like, I could see setting a game amongst the, ruins of the DC area, and just seeing if I can throw in some of the weird stuff around here. I've also been watching The Last of Us, the new TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And that has some great Pugmire-y ideas. It's only 20 years after, the fall of society. But there's definitely already some, like the way that some of the buildings are overgrown and some things are not very recognizable in the show that I'm also getting inspiration from. Like, pretty much anything post-apocalyptic now I just look at and I think about Pugmire and how that would look in another, 500 years, and try to, imagine it.
Also, I think it's called Horizon Dawn. Is the series?
I don't know.
But there's a video game series.
You mean Horizon Zero Dawn? Got it.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Yes, thank you. I knew there was Horizon and Dawn in there. I think Zero in there somewhere. I'm not sure where.
Yeah, and then Forbidden West is the other one.
Right. It's straight up hunting robot dinosaurs, right?
Yeah. It's really fun.
But yeah, I mean, and that's another one example. Like, it's super far in the future, and everyone's using non-technological language to try to explain concepts, and it's like, but it's a robot dinosaur. It's just Transformers. Okay, I get what's happening here.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly robots that you're fighting, very, very clearly.
Right. And yeah, I love that stuff. In fact, this wraps around to Adventure Time.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the reasons why I think Adventure Time works really well as a Pugmire inspiration is because I think both Pugmire and Adventure Time are drawing from the same era. Because I found out that the people who made Adventure Time, originally a lot of the concepts were in an old D&D game.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And a lot of the late 70s, early 80s D&D really blended sci-fi and fantasy. Mm-hmm. There's an entire original classic D&D module where there's a smashed spaceship, but everything in the game is described as if it were this kind of strange metallic dungeon.
Right.
And then somewhere in the book, the picture makes it very clear what's happening, and the book, spills secret pretty fast. Mm-hmm. But it encourages the DM to be like, don't tell your players what this is, just play it straight. And so you have pictures of robots, and of course there's 70s, 80s robots. But that's where psionics kind of crept into D&D, was from that early 80s vector. And he had rules for laser guns and whatnot, and then kind of Gamma World kind of got blended into D&D. So there was this kind of whole, especially Barrier Peaks. Thank you. I couldn't think of the name of it. Thank you, Nathan Knack. But yeah, so there's this whole era of where sci-fi was just kind of crammed into fantasy pretty randomly.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is that Adventure Time was kind of run either during that time or by players who were fans of that time period. And then they went off and kind of, the cartoon's very different from the actual game, but that's kind of where the genesis from it. And I similarly drew from the same genesis of this stuff can just absolutely coexist, and it's fun when it does. So it's been interesting to see modern media kind of picking that thread back up and spinning it in different ways, but it's still around.
Yeah, when I was talking to my players about this and, selling them on it, because one of them clearly wanted to play, so I was trying to sell the other two and be like, my favorite thing was when they kind of were like, oh yeah, there really isn't like a D&D setting aside from like Forgotten Realms. Like they don't think about like the lore of D&D, I guess. And so when I'm sitting here going like, no, there's all this deep lore to Pugmire if you like look at it the right way, and you think about what's happened. And that's what's interesting about the game, is trying to figure out some of that stuff, or trying to find an artifact that, might be from the time of the old ones, or you're trying to find the old ones or prove they exist or prove they don't, or whatever you want to do. Like, yes, you could also just go on adventures and get treasure. That's fine if you want to do like a really like, just kind of normal quote unquote campaign. But also like, you can do some really deep theological tech weirdness with Pugmire that I think a lot of people don't lean into right away. And then once they get more into it, they start seeing it everywhere. And it's like, oh, the implications of this are very different to a dog than they would be to me, a person.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments of running Pugmire was one person's playing a cat, everyone else is playing a dog, and of course there's a shepherd. And usually shepherd players, either they just spam spells, or they get really deep into the made-up theology of the Church of Man.
Right.
And one of them was just like, everyone's a good dog, you're a good dog, blah, blah. And then the cat did something, and the rest of the party's mad at him, and the shepherd's like, no, the cat's a good dog. And kind of just stopped as everyone realized the deep ramifications of that statement.
Yeah. Can a cat be a good dog?
Right. And it's like, and it led to an interesting conversation, because it was like, the players had to kind of drop out for a second, because they're like, okay, so I just realized I'm applying one society standards of goodness onto a completely different society and realizing how wrong that is, but my character's not going to realize that, so I'm going to roll with this.
Right. Yeah, it's like I've had moments in campaigns where people are like, your character's being a real asshole, and I'm like, yeah, chaotic good isn't great. Like, yeah. She's pretty zealous about what's evil and what's not, and that's not a good way to be, and Dixie knows that. So getting my character to know that is part of her story arc. That's like why I made this character, is because at first she's essentially kind of racist. She's like, goblins, evil, die, Yeah. And having to learn that, there's shades of gray is very important. And I think that with Pugmire, you can play with that so much. And I think a lot of people like maybe just tend to gloss over it because they see the, cute animals or whatever. And they're like, oh, this is like cutesy D&D. And it's like, this game has some theology that like really will mess with your head if you think about it too hard. That's why it's been fun to write for it, is because I have to sit there and think like, okay, in this world, this is perceived this way, this is perceived this way. So how would these characters perceive this thing? Like, why aren't lizards living in the cities? Like, let's think about that. Like what their society looks like, and what does bird society look like? Because so far in the books, we haven't seen many of them. And then mice and rats, it's like we've seen a fair amount of rats in general, but mostly as bad guys or as like pseudo antagonists, like in the Rat Kings, where I'm not gonna give that away, but like so there's a whole bunch of interesting things to explore that I think I have fun thinking about them. Weirdly, over my years in working in the game industry, I think that Pugmire is the setting that I've actually thought about the most. I'm not joking. Like, I think about how things work in this world all the time, because I just find it so fascinating, and trying to think of what the characters in this game would think of this thing or that thing or another if they found it or if they saw it for the first time. So yeah, I just think it's really, really fun.
Yeah, I'm glad, because that was absolutely my goal.
Yeah, I think way too much about Pugmire, like, honestly, for someone who is not the creator. Like,
well, I mean, I think way too much about it too, but I mean,
that's like why I always have comments when I edit any Pugmire thing, because I will always run across something and be like, so based on the information presented before, I'm not sure they would think this.
Right.
Because like that's how I feel about it. Now I could be wrong, obviously, because no one's. I mean, we have one authority on Pugmire, and that's Eddy.
But it is helpful when you're like going, hey, based on what I've read before, I wouldn't think this. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
I need to bridge that gap. Maybe that's the answer.
Yeah.
The answer might be no. What I said is correct, but clearly I need to get the gap.
Nice.
And actually, as I just noticed, as we're getting close to time, but we have passed $10,000.
Yeah,
so.
I just saw we're at a third of the way there. Yay! It's always nice when we do that during the day because a lot of people end up seeing it when they get off work or over the next little bit here. Also, a lot of people get paid like on the 1st. So often we find little bumps there. So I think getting to a third by the end of our little, jumping off point is really fun.
Yeah. So yeah, this has been fun. It's been fun to hang out. It's a little different from the Q&A, which I think is nice. You kind of just randomly talk about stuff.
Yeah, we're just hanging out, Chad. Looking at the Kickstarter, watching the numbers. But yeah, we have 176 backers, which is more, or 172, 176. I don't know. It's bouncing, as it always says. But that's more people than had pledged to get updated when it went live. So that's not bad.
How many were set to get updated?
Like 164, I think.
That's not bad at all, honestly.
No, it was good. I am definitely looking forward to this. I know that the original, gosh, that Kickstarter was so long ago. The Pugmire Kickstarter. But it had over 3,000 backers. So if this one does even half as well, we're gonna do great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really hope people do check out 2E. Like, at least check out the manuscript if you're a Pugmire 1E player.
Mm-hmm.
Do the $5 back, read the manuscript, see if it's for you, or see if you want to wait until some more books come out for it. I understand. We're never going to be like, you have to give us your money. But the chance of more books getting made faster will go up the more people that pledge for this Kickstarter. And I do love that we have a deluxe version this time.
Yes. Yeah, we're doing a deluxe version. And also...
which I want.
I think James has told me that it'd be a couple of weeks from now, so I can't remember the campaign. But I have written a conversion guide. So if you played first edition, I will have a document that kind of helps you to bridge the gap between first and second edition. So it's not very long, honestly. I have like it goes into a lot of detail stuff. Like if you're looking for this spell, it's now called this. I mean, it's that level of simple. So yeah, if you it will also act as a convenient way of showing you all the changes that have been made. That's not absolutely every single number, but certainly in terms of a high level, like here's all the rules have changed and why, and not more or less why they've changed, but you get a sense of why they changed and what's going on here. But yeah, the only other thing I want to say is in chat, someone asked, do you think finding working human things is essential to the game? I don't think it's essential. I think it's something that I enjoy having fun with.
Yeah.
Partially because, again, I enjoy the metagame of what is this actually a thing of, but also it invites questions of how in the hell is this iPad working after potentially thousands of years?
Right, which, I mean, I always explain away by, like, we invented better batteries
right.
at some point in the future. But yeah, once again, that's really, I don't know, could be anything.
There's actually, I just saw an article last week. Google's putting out a new version of their Chromecast. It comes with Google TV, I should say, and it comes with a remote. But the remote is structured in a way that it will never need batteries.
Huh.
It is found. They have found ways to it doesn't use a ton of energy to begin with, but it found a way to mildly replenish itself over time. And I was like, here we go. That's some dog's wand 1,000 years from now.
Exactly.
Chromecast remote.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, there are definitely devices in Pugmire that you're like, why would a human ever even make that? Like Alistair, what's his face's fire cane thing. Like it's weird. It's a weird device. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I'm sure Eddy does. I don't know, but he's got a stick that shoots fire at people. That doesn't seem to be a gun because we have guns in Pugmire. Yep. So I'm like, I don't know what the heck that thing is, but it's scary, and I don't know why we invented it. But for all I know, it's just like, a really cool lighter from the future.
And you know what? Sometimes there's not even a secret behind it. Like sometimes I just like, this is just a weird thing I wanted to put in the game.
Yeah.
And that's beginning, middle, the end of the conversation. It's the cool, weird thing I wanted to put in.
Exactly. So the explanation, if you really want one, can be like, the military made some weird weapons in the future. He found one of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. But anyway, we're on time, and I've got to get back to finishing up that magic chapter. So.
Oh yeah. Before it goes up for a preview, I guess you want to do that, huh?
Right. Yeah, I need to get that going.
So if people want to talk to you about Realms of Pugmire and about Any changes that they're seeing in the manuscript, where could they do that?
Honestly, right now, the best place to talk would be on the Kickstarter. I'm gonna try to swing by every day or so to answer comments. So leaving comments to Kickstarter certainly help. The Onyx Path Discord, I'm always in the Realms of Pugmire channel answering questions to the best of my ability. But if you also just want to know, if you're just wandered in, but what the heck are these people talking about? realmsofpugmire.com is bringing all of your Pugmire information out.
Yes, it's all there. And of course, the Kickstarter is going on right now. It started today, so we've got about a month to go.
Mm-hmm.
The Onyx Path is linking things in the chat, which is great. Thank you very much, Ian. That said, you can find me also on the Discord hanging out, where I'm not usually a dog. I'm more of a cat person, but I'm a dog today because today's Pugmire Day. And yeah, chat with us about Realms of Pugmire, chat with us about changes, read over the manuscript. You really did get like 70 plus pages today, so that's huge. You could literally create a character today aside from a spellcaster. And we've already hit over, right around $11,000. So I think this is going to keep going really well. I'm excited.
Thank you so much, everybody who's been pledged so far.
Yes, thank you, everybody. And thank you for hanging out with us. Have a good Kickstarter and rest of your day, I guess, but mostly Kickstarter.
Bye. Goodbye, everybody.